Welcome back. As a reminder, we are in activity 1.8. If you're following along in your paper textbook, that's on page 46 and 47. And you have just finished reading the first half of the story, Lamb to the Slaughter, part 1. And you just read that Mary's husband has told her something unpleasant. He says in paragraph 36, this is going to be a bit of a shock to you, I'm afraid. And then he goes on and he tells her something. Now, the author, Roald Dahl, doesn't tell us what he says to her. But we realize that it is not good. He says in paragraph 37, she sat very still through it all, watching him with a kind of dazed horror as he went further and further away from her with each word. Now, it doesn't tell us if he's moving physically away or emotionally away, but I feel like this is an emotional movement. He says, so there it is. And I know it's kind of a bad time to be telling you, but there simply wasn't any other way. Of course, I'll give you money and see you're looked after, but there needn't really be any fuss. I hope not, anyway. It wouldn't be very good for my job. And we don't know what's coming next. So maybe some of you peeked into activity 1.9. But let's just stay right here focused in the first half of the story for now. So when we take a look at the making observations, SpringBoard would like you to put some notes in here about what telling details stand out to you. What are the things as, Mary was talking about dinner, was talking about how they didn't have to go out if he didn't want to. Would you like me to get you some cheese? You must be hungry. I haven't made supper. They always go out on Thursdays. So she's still sewing, but he's drinking and she's kind of anticipating, their dinner and what's going on. He's being a little weird by saying, no, I don't need to eat. And then he tells her the story. So write the telling details. What is the description? How is she feeling? How is he feeling? What is she observing about his actions and what's happening? Then what are your initial observations about Mary and her husband? So their interaction, what are you noticing about how they interact with one another? How does Mary behave toward him? How does he behave toward her? And what are the words and phrases, those telling details that tell you so? All right, so working from the text, let's just talk about these questions and what you need to complete. And then I will have you go and do that work and then come back for the next video where we'll talk about the last few questions. So look at the working from the text. It wants you in number 1 to reread paragraphs 8 through 38. Now that sounds like a lot, but they are very short paragraphs, which you know already. Search for details that show that Mary has certain expectations for her Thursday evening. So we know that Mary has a routine. It's very clear that every Thursday they do the same thing. So what are the details that let you know that? Okay. Now, number 2 says with a partner, but I would like you to do this on your own. And then when we get into our live sessions, we will talk about it. So revisit paragraphs 8 to 38, the same set of paragraphs, and use either the My Notes section in your paper book, or you can put it here under number 2 by clicking on A. Mark the places in the text where Mary's husband goes off script. Mary's husband is not sticking to the routine. He is veering off the script. He is doing something different than he should be doing on a normal Thursday night. So where do you see that happen in the text? So maybe you'll mark what paragraph. Maybe you'll click A and then type in, in paragraph whatever, he goes off. So once you do that, then I want you to come back to this focus on the sentence. All right, let's talk about the focus on the sentence real quick. And then I'm going to pause or stop the video and you will come back for video number 3. So focus on the sentence does say work with a partner, but I want you to do this on your own. And then hopefully we will have some time in our live session where we can get into some small groups and you can share with partners. It says, write a series of sentences about events that Mary did not expect to happen this particular evening. Use the following sentence frame. Okay. So Mary didn't expect her husband to blank. So see if you can write 2 sentences, maybe 3, that you can share with a partner in our live session about what Mary didn't expect her husband to do. Okay, before we end the video, let's gain some perspective. Let's think about this for a second. Take a look at this box that says gaining perspective. In the short story, Lamb to the Slaughter, Mary and her husband are having marital problems. Now, you guys have never been married, so maybe you don't understand really what's going on between them, and yet you may know people who've been in relationships. Maybe it's your parents. Maybe it's a parent and a girlfriend or a boyfriend. Maybe it's just friends that you've seen in relationships. So it says, think about the effect of her husband's news on Mary's mental, emotional, physical, and social health. So with a partner, it says role play. I just want you to imagine in your mind for a moment. I don't know that we'll have time to do the role playing in our live session. If we do, that would be fun. But I want you to think about this. Maybe you can think of a person, or you can think of a time when you were there when someone got some bad news. Clearly, he had bad news and he didn't know how to tell her. And he seems okay with this news. He doesn't seem to be having the same bad feelings about this news as Mary. They're having marital problems and it feels like he's leaving her. And so it feels like he just told her that they're breaking up and getting a divorce. So thinking about that, maybe you can connect to that in some way. Think about how that news impacts her mentally, emotionally, physically, and socially. How is this going to impact her relationship with friends or with their neighbors? How is it going to make her feel when he leaves her or when he tells her the bad news? If you've ever gotten bad news, maybe you have felt upset to your stomach, or it gave you a headache, or made you feel really tired. So think about those things. How would Mary describe them? So think about how Mary would have a conversation about what just happened. How would she tell her best friend about what just happened? How could a friend help her? If Mary has a friend she can go to, can her friend say to her? So after you've thought about that, you might want to jot some notes down or just kind of keep it in the back of your mind for our live session. Hopefully we'll have some time to talk about it. All right, so I would like you to go back, do the questions, question 1, question 2, and then the focus on the sentence, and then come back for video number 3. We'll take a quick look at the appreciating the author's craft so we can prepare for our live class. All right, thanks you guys. I hope you're excited about finding out what happens at the end of our story.